Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name is Firehard2K, and welcome to Endless Legends. I am really excited to share this game with you guys today. I picked it up about 2 weeks ago on the Steam Christmas sales, and I had never heard of this game until I saw it appear on my store page. And I took a look into it more in depth, and I found out that it was actually a fantasy and science fiction 4X strategy game, kind of like Civilization. And I've played about 20 hours or so into the game, and I have fallen in love with it. Endless Legends is a fantastic game, and I wanted to share it with everyone, or with as many people as I could. So today, we're going to be doing a new single-player game against some AI. I'm going to be showing you guys the different mechanics of the game. The first 2 episodes in this series will be kind of tutorial in nature. I'll be talking about all the different mechanics of the game that I do know of. And then after that, we'll really be getting into playing the game. So if you end up already, if you're a veteran of the series, because Endless Legends has been out since September, then by all means, I'll put up an annotation right up in the upper left-hand corner, and you can click on that and skip the first 2 videos and just go ahead and go right to the good stuff. Otherwise, stick with me, and we'll get there eventually. Alright, so let's go to new games. So, this is basically the setup for every game. Endless Legends game setups are pretty cool. They've got a lot of advanced settings that you can do for all of your different places. You can do topography, world difficulty, continent shape, world shape, all that. I haven't really played too much with the advanced world settings, so I'm going to leave them as they are for right now. Mainly, we're going to stick on this screen before we go into the game. Okay, so first off, we're going to be playing with 6 empires, which is pretty standard. It's a decent size. The maximum amount of empires you can have in the game, or factions, is 8. I have not tried 8 yet, and I think that if I did 8, the game would drag on exceedingly long. So we're going to stick with 6, just for the sake of doing so. Now, I am going to make the world size large, and the reason for this is because, like I said, I've only put in about 20 hours or so into this game, and I'm still very new at this, and there are probably plenty of other people who are much better than me at this game. So by making the map size large and making it so there's only 6 empires, this is going to give me a little bit more space and a teeny bit more time to kind of get my bearings and settle myself before I end up running into other factions and having to defend myself from them. So, it's just a way to make it a little easier for myself without actually dropping the difficulty. So we're going to be playing with a Pangea world shape. Pangea's, it's just a basic, huge landmass surrounded by water on all sides, so that's what the world's going to look like. We're going to have regular, temperate, all normal stuff. Okay. Now, before I get into the game, like I said, the first 2 videos of this series are going to be kind of tutorial in nature, and as such, I'm going to be treating the first 2 videos like you basically know, you know nothing about the game, because I know the game's been out for 3 months, and there are plenty of people who have it. However, I'm sure there are plenty of other people as well who bought it very recently during the Christmas sales, because it went on sale for like 10 bucks or 12 bucks or something like that. So it was really cheap, so I bet a lot of people bought it. Alright, so these are the 8 factions in this game, and the first thing that you will notice is that all the factions are very uniquely stylized and all have a really different look to them, which I think is a fantastic thing about this game. This is one of the reasons I love this game so much. Not only are they stylized artistically, all the factions look really different, they also are extremely different in how they play in comparison to each other, which is why this game has so much replay value, and I highly suggest taking a look at it. So I will be talking briefly about the factions I do know a little bit about, and those are the ones that I've played. The other ones I don't know about, I'm just going to show them to you so you can see what they look like. So we've got the Wild Walkers, Broken Lords. These guys are on the front cover in the main menu. You guys saw them a minute ago. We've got the Vaulters. So Vaulters I have played. Vaulters are basically a race of people who used to live underground in this game world's continent, and either from calamity or because they had kind of a wanderlust kind of thing, they decided they were going to go to the surface and search for new technology and explore more of the world. So, and then we have the Necrophages. Necrophages are like a creepy bug hive-like people. They're really disgusting, and I have one friend who plays them, and he creeps me out every single time he plays them. Just look at their face. It's just, I feel like it's gonna eat me. It's disgusting. It may just be because I just don't like bugs. Also, anyway, we've got the Ardent Mages. Ardent Mages are really cool. Now, I've only played 1 game with them, and I haven't actually won with them, so I'm not sure if they're really underpowered or if they've been balanced. I was reading online that they actually, apparently at one point in time, were really underpowered and could get killed really quickly in multiplayer games, so they may be a little weak. However, they have some really cool things about them. For instance, they have these pillars that they can use to actually increase different parts of their research and things like that. And then all their units do more damage the more damage they take, because they're a race of basically masochistic, pain-loving mages. It's pretty cool. Alright, we've got the Draken. Draken are a diplomatic race of dragon people, draconian people. I don't know a huge amount about them, but we'll probably run into them in this game, so I'll talk about them if we run across them. We've got the Cultists. Cultists are really creepy machine people that worship a, I believe a god. I can't remember. Anyway, they essentially want to assimilate everyone into their like little civilization, and the cool thing about them is that they actually can only have one city, so you have to be really good. You gotta make sure you place your city in a really good place, otherwise you're gonna be screwed later. But I think they have a lot of abilities that increase their city's like output and things like that, so they can kind of compensate for it, but they're pretty cool. Now, the faction that I'm going to be playing as, and the one that I personally have loved so far because I've played it the most, is the Roving Clans. Now, the Roving Clans are a race of nomadic people. They kind of reminded me of Mongols at first, except there's one key difference between them and the Mongols. Unlike the Mongols, Roving Clans cannot outright declare war. It's really weird. However, it's extremely cool, in my opinion. So, there are ways to get around this, and I will be showing those off in this game, in this gameplay series. But the Roving Clans are pretty awesome, so we're going to be playing as them. So, since this is a 4X strategy game, there are multiple ways to win. So, unlike other games where you can only win through military conquest, you can win by being the most diplomatic of all the factions, by being the most economical of all the factions, by holding the most territory, etc. Or by killing everyone if you want the plain and simple thing. So, as the Roving Clans, I'm going to be focusing on either doing an economy victory or an elimination victory. An elimination victory is basically I need to eliminate the capitals of all the other factions. Now, like I said, you may be thinking immediately, why would you go for elimination, or why would you even consider elimination if you can't even declare war? But like I said, there are ways to get around the Roving Clan's ability to not declare war, and we'll talk about those when we get into the game. Alright, so we're going to go into the game now. I'm going to play as the Roving Clans, 5 of their factions, large map size. Let's go. So it's going to take a minute for it to load up, but once it does, we're going to see a unique cutscene that is part of the Roving Clan's story. It's very interesting. So that's, I would say, the main elements of this game that come in that are RPG in nature are the fact that you will be able to get hero units, which can act as leaders of your armies or governors of your cities, and these hero units can be upgraded and their equipment can be changed throughout the game. That's kind of RPG-like. And also, every faction has their own quest line, which is basically a main story for them. And it has a lot of text, a lot of, you know, flavorfulness into it that basically gives the faction their own identity. And you actually, even though the quest line is the same every game and there's no like just official main campaign, you still every game feel like you're completing the faction that you're playing. You're completing their story, which I think is really cool, and I really applaud the developers of this game for doing that. Alright, so it should be loading up in just a moment. The loading screen usually takes a good 30 seconds or so. And I'm going to be quiet once the cutscene comes in, because I hate it when people talk during cutscenes. It annoys me. Alright. Okay, here we go. Enjoy, folks.
Some hope to control their destiny by building. Others through science or by conquest. Do they not see that only dust can give them what they want? For it is money and power and magic, all intertwined in a single miraculous substance. It is the essence that binds our civilizations together. Perhaps, as we let them believe, it is our weakness. But I have seen its wonders. It is not our weakness. It is rather how we will rule them all.
So we will rule them all with money, basically. Okay, so I really like the Roving Clans cutscene. I think them and the Vaulters have the coolest cutscenes so far. Now, I think the Draken might have a cool one, but anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let's get into the game, huh? Alright, so we are going to talk about the mechanics of the game. for these first two parts, so let's do that. So first off, as you can see, let's take a look at the map. You have a basic 4X strategy map. Now, unlike other strategy maps, you can see it's it's a little different in the way that the terrain is shaped up, but of course this is kind of just an artistic style. But you will see the shape of the terrain and all that, and like the unique way it looks, it will actually, it matters. And when we get into battle and things like that, and you guys will see that later, and I'll kind of surprise you with that. Okay, so first off, let's go over the basic mechanics of the game. So up here in the upper left-hand corner, we've got the tooltip. You can see we've got a lot of them, so this is going to take me a little while. I'll try to be as fast as possible. So first off, we've got gold. Gold is called dust in this game, and this is your dust production. This shows your amount of dust that you have, and then the amount of dust that you'll be producing next turn. Okay, pretty simple. Over here, this shows what you're currently researching. Right now, we're researching nothing. This shows what kind of resources we own. There are two types of resources in this game. There are strategic resources and luxury resources. Strategic resources, which, like this one, actually, glass steel, can be used to upgrade your armies to give them a further edge against your enemies. They can be used for that, and also some technologies in the later game require certain strategic resources to actually research them. Okay? Luxury resources are resources that you can use to improve certain aspects of your empire for a certain turn. You have to stockpile a certain amount of them, but then once you do so, you can activate them and gain a certain bonus that affects your entire empire, which includes all of your cities. Depends on the resource, but usually I think it's like 10 turns. Okay, so that's up there. So bottom right hand corner now, we've got the end turn button, a list of all the players that are currently in the game. It's pretty cool. When you play multiplayer games, when every player ends their when each player ends their turn, it'll actually show a little check mark next to their name, so you know which players are done and which aren't. And it'll actually tell you if you're the last person and the game is waiting on you before it can get to the next turn, it'll say waiting on you, which is kind of funny. It's kind of like the game saying hurry up. Anyway, so now down here, we've got two options. We can turn on a hexagonal grid to show the shape of all the different tiles that our units will be moving on in the map, but we don't need that. I find it makes it so it makes the map look a little less natural, and I've played enough of this game to know like where the tiles are. So, alright, and then over here, this is where we're going to be talking about the basic resources of the game. This is going to, if you click this little button, it's going to bring up all the resources that a current tile produces. It's pretty cool. So there are four main resources in this game. There is dust, which is this gold thing. You guys know that by now. Excuse me. There are research, or science. Science can be used to increase the speed at which you research things. Okay. We have industry. Industry increases the rate at which you build units and buildings. The more industry you have, the faster you build things. And then there's food. Food will increase the rate at which your city grows, meaning it'll gain more population. And the way you can, the way this is good is that the more population a city has, basically every population, which is represented by a little person, and we'll see that in a minute, every population a city has can be used to actually increase certain aspects of a city's production. So you can kind of drag and drop them into different things and increase the city's research, industry, dust, food, anything like that. It's pretty cool. And we'll talk about that once we actually settle our first city, which will probably be in the next part, since I'm going to be, we'll see. You know, let's settle my city right now. That actually might be important. Okay, so around the map, before we settle our city, we've got a couple of important things. So you can see here we've got these two little glowing things. You may be asking what these are. These are ruins. Ruins are littered throughout the map, and they can provide certain bonuses if your army actually searches them. You have to actually take a unit, go over to them, and right-click them, and then you can search the ruins and either gain certain bonuses or even quests sometimes, or they can give you nothing. It's kind of random. There are certain abilities that can improve your army's ability to search these ruins, and it's supposed to yield better rewards. But I find that even with that, it's still kind of random. And I've even, at many times, when I've had all these upgrades to increase my army's search abilities, I still will either get really bad things or I'll get nothing. So I usually don't even focus on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be exploring around the map and finding a good place for my settler right here to settle our city. So I'm going to divide this unit up first. Okay. Now it looks like we're on some kind of a... So we are in a Pangea. Okay. I was going to say that we were on the edge of the Pangea map, but it looks like that's actually not the case, considering the map keeps going this way. Okay. So let's explore this a little bit. I'm not going to venture too far. Alright, and it looks like we've actually found the miner faction that's in our settlement. We'll talk about them in a minute. Alright, so I'm going to move this guy back, and I'm going to search the ruin with him. Alright, and there you go. I found nothing of interest at this location. Okay. Alright, and let's move my settler out of here. Keep him there. Alright, now the first thing you'll notice with these armies is that there's a lot of different things that are going on with them. So, right now, I have 2 armies. Now, an army is basically, it's a unit that's, or sorry, it's a group of units essentially. Now, it can be 1 or more units. Armies are necessary for you to move units outside of your cities. So basically, if you want to move units outside of a city's garrison, you have to turn them into an army. Having multiple armies makes it so you have less income per turn. As you can see, I've dropped from -9 to -17 because I technically have 3 armies on the field right now. Now, if we look at the different things on this army's page, we can see the name of the army. Every army gets a unique name. It's kind of cool. You can see the total health points, and this is just a combination of the health of my hero leading this army and the health of this dervish unit right here. This is the movement points. This is how many tiles they can move per turn, and then this is their vision range. The options over here are kind of, we don't really need to talk about them. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory. But we are going to talk about my hero for a moment before I move on to the next thing. So like I said, this game does have RPG mechanics, and one of those RPG mechanics is the customization abilities of your hero. Now, you can see here we bring up this unique little page, and I think it's pretty cool. Basically, my hero is a person riding a massive bull, or something like that. Something that looks like a bull, in my opinion. And if we look over here, we actually get a full description of the hero's backstory and all that. So this woman's name is Siri Alastra II, as we can see up here. And we get this huge description. I'm not going to read this because it's going to take me like 5 minutes. But it's really cool. They provide a lot of like flavorful text and RPG-like stuff to kind of give the game some lore, and I think it's awesome. And then we've got a list over here of available armors and weapons. Now, if I want to equip any of these armors and weapons, I actually have to click and drag them over into these different slots, and it's going to cost me gold to actually, for the hero anyway, if I want to equip them with new stuff, I have to click and drag these things over here, and it'll cost me gold to do so. So you typically don't want to equip your hero with new stuff in the beginning because you won't have the money to do so. But, you know, it's a good thing to remember. Over here we have different abilities, and this can change throughout the game. So right now she has a, she gets a +2 defense when she's attacked. She does more damage when performing a close range attack. She gets, okay, so this is the other important thing. I forgot to mention this. So heroes are not just necessarily units. They can be assigned. That's basically how they take part in your empire's governance. They can be assigned to your armies, to a single army, or they can be assigned to a city. If they're assigned to a city, they are a city's governor. And then depending on their different skills, which we'll look at in the skill tree, they can give a city certain bonuses. So this person, at level 1, if she's assigned to a city as its governor, she'll give them +2 gold per population, and then +1% dust per her level. So if she's level 2, she'll give 2% dust, you know, etc. So, okay. And then if we look over here, this is the skill tree. So every time your hero levels up, you can get a new skill in the skill tree. Pretty self-explanatory. If anyone's played a role-playing game, they should know what this is. Yes, we're going to leave that screen. We haven't done anything. Okay. Alright, so I think the best course of action would actually be, you know, I should go towards the ruins, but I want to see what's up here, because there's a river right here. Let's see. Because, like, okay, let's see. It always takes me the longest to figure out where I want to settle my city. Okay, so, like I was saying, as the Roving Clans, I think it is the most important thing. The most important thing is to get food and science in your first city. So looking around here, possible places where I can settle are going to be like right here on the border, because we get about 11 food, which is pretty good, and then we only get 7 science though, so I'm not a huge fan of that. I like to get as much science as possible. Now some of you may look over here and be like, there's a ton of food here, but then we only get 5 science, which is even less. So we're having a bit of a predicament here. Because even if I settle right here, I'll get 12 food, but only Yeah. I only get 4 science, and that's really bad. This is a little tough. I mean, I could settle right here, and then I get 8 food, no, 9 food, and then I get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I get 12 research. That's not horrible. But then no dust. So industry in the game is really important for the Roving Clans early game, because you need the industry to build your buildings. But after a certain point in the game, once you get to around mid game, Roving Clans will typically have the ability to just buy everything they need, and they won't even need industry anymore. So it's important that I pick a place that has a little bit of industry. Now, you may be noticing I'm not even focusing on dust right now, even though I'm trying to go for an economic victory. The reason for that is because dust, as important as it is, you can get dust through building different buildings, so you really don't have to worry about it a huge amount early game, because you can build you can get different technologies and build buildings that'll increase your dust production. And also, the Roving Clans have an ability to move their cities, which I'll show you in a little bit. Alright, so it looks like the best place to settle would be right here. You get a lot of science, a lot of food, no dust unfortunately, which means I'm really going to be hurting for money early game. However, I should be able to compensate for that with some buildings. Alright, so we're going to settle my city right here. Just going to watch these guys go over. And there they go. We have our first city. And over here you can see the way the city's set up is really cool. So the cities, when you build them, they work 6 tiles that are all adjacent to where you built the city. And when the city comes up, what it'll do is it'll actually make it so the place it was settled will have -1 food production. So we lost food production here, unfortunately. However, it'll give it +1 science, +1 gold, +1 industry, and +3 science. So it's pretty cool. Oh, I'm sorry, I said +3 science, +1. Yeah, +1 industry, +1 science. It gives you +1 of every resource, and including influence, and then -1 food, basically. So, alright, and then we have our little scarab beetle here. Okay, so let's move my guy a little bit. So now that we've settled there, I'm actually going to move my hero over to this ruin. Oh, we had an oasis right here? I was about to say I feel dumb and I should have settled right here, but this is still only like 8 science. I'd much rather have the huge amount of science right here that I'm going to be getting from this section. Okay, anyway. Alright, so let's go search this ruin. Okay, we got 5 titanium, so we got a little bit of a strategic resource. That'll be good for the mid game. Alright, then let's move my hero over this way. Let's see what we got. Okay, nothing major. It looks like we're in kind of a jungle biome. Now, one thing you will notice is that if I zoom out, you can see this kind of thing that looks like a border. So the way this game's world is sectioned off is that it's sectioned off into regions. Now each region has its own unique minor faction that can be subjugated and assimilated into your own nation. And also each region can only have 1 city in it. So keep that in mind if you're a new player to this game and you're thinking of city placement. You can only settle 1 city in each region. The game will not let you do any more than that. And as soon as you settle a city into a region, the region immediately becomes your region, basically. So right now, you can see this region is in blue because I have settled in this region, and this region has now been claimed as my territory. The other regions around me are in white, meaning that they are neutral. And you can see right here, there's a little minor faction in this region, and then there's one right here, which is my minor faction. Now, with the minor factions, you can get rid of them in 3 different ways. You can either fight them and destroy their villages, and when you do that, they become subjugated. Now, however, if you do that, you have to rebuild their villages, which takes some time to gain their bonuses that they'll provide you. Or you can research a technology that will make it so you can either parlay with them, and they'll give you a quest, and if you complete the quest, they'll become pacified, which means they'll still be around, but they won't attack you, and they'll see you as friendly. Or you can bribe them. So there's 3 different ways you can deal with them. Alright, now first things first, let's get something built for my city. So pretty much, no matter what faction you are, the first thing you're going to build is a Founders Memorial. You can't really build anything else. So we're going to build that. It's going to take me 10 turns, that's actually not bad, because it'll take less time progressively as the game goes on. Okay, so let's take a look at the city screen for a moment here. Now, there's not too much you need to look at. Down here, we've got a little slot for where we can assign a hero if we need to, but we're not going to do that yet. We have different things that my city can build, and then also 2 different abilities, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then up here, we have the city info. So we have the city population's approval rating of me. Now, you want to try to have as high approval as possible. The more approval you have, the more gold and research a city will produce, which is pretty cool. Over here, we have the city's population. So you can see in 3 turns that my city's population is going to increase to 2. And when I was saying, I should have done that, I should have tried to explain this with the food production when I actually went into the city screen. But what I was saying by it increases your population is that every single population of your city is represented by this little worker. So when I have 2 population, I'll have 2 little workers. And then what you can do with these workers, you can click and drag them over to all 5 of these different types of resources. And if so for instance, if I wanted to produce my Founders Memorial more quickly, I could pick him up, put him in here, and now you see he's adding his own contributions to my city's industry, and now it's only going to take me 6 turns to produce this Founders Memorial. And this goes the same for all of these. But in the beginning of the game, I really like to just leave my workers in food, because the faster your city grows, the more of these workers you'll have to micromanage and send across your empire's different types of production. So it gives me a little bit more leeway. So I like to get as many population, as large of a population as possible, as early as possible, basically. Okay, that's pretty much all we really need to talk about early game here. We do have trade routes, but that's not going to be relevant until the 2nd technology era, so we won't talk about that just yet. Okay, so that's going to be probably the first part of this video. Join me next time, folks, for the 2nd part of the tutorial section, and then after that we'll be getting into the main game. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again later.